I am going to speak on iron and wood steel industry in Telangana. This work is dedicated to the great smiths and artisans of Telangana, makers of proud India. Presenting here in a systematic way that India's contribution to the world of metallurgy, iron ore resources in Telangana, traditional iron reducing methods, important Wootz industry in the region, the related ethnographic study. Metallurgical heritage of India, Indians masters of metals, necessary background for any metal and material technology was existing. Ferrous and non-ferrous metal heritage of India is not well documented. Here you can see the Harappan dancing image BC 5000 and the image of Buddha, Gupta period 4th century AD and 9th century Nataraja statue, a Chola period. All these images produced by the last wax process of casting, India possessed the necessary material technological background, but properly not recorded at all. The Gupta period 7-ton iron pillar at Delhi, this is manufactured by forge welding technology. This testifies the level of metallurgical skills mastered by the Indian smiths. The iron pillar at Kodachadri is in front of Mukambika temple, Karnataka, dated mid-Gupta period 475 AD. Total height of the pillar is 14 meters, weight about 500 kgs. Such iron pillars are also found in some places along the western Ghats near Kemmenegundi, Ekmalkeri, Agumbe. One more pillar at Ramtek near Nagpur and another pillar at Lohgad near Agra. Very wonderful pillars. 11th century forge welded iron pillar at Dhar district in Madhya Pradesh. This height is 13.2 meters and broken into 3 pieces. When Jahangir wanted to shift it from Madhya Pradesh to Delhi, when they were dismantling, it broken into 3 pieces. Lohastamba embossing the names of kings of on the Jawhar boards. This Vijayastamba in the iron fort of at Bharatpur in near Agra. The weighing forge welded iron beams at Konark, Orissa. Looking at these marvels, we can understand the technological maturity achieved by the Indian smiths. Not only iron pillars at Konark, but most of the temples they constructed with the iron beams in Orissa. Puri Jagannath, Lingaraja, Rajarani and Mahalingam temples all are constructed with the iron beams, the support of iron beams. Next we go to the iron manufactured cannons. These are all forge welded manufactured iron pillars. 50 to 60 ton weighing cannons, those remaining in various forts of Deccan, they are neglected beauties of India. 47,000 ton Ladakh Hasab, where I am standing, and the 60 tons Bada Burj cannon at Bidar, the longest cannon at Hyder Burj in Bijapur, thus 36.5 feet, 24 feet long and 35 ton bronze cannon in Golconda Fort at Hyderabad. These are all authentication of organized network of the Indian smiths. They must have been provided a strong network of iron and metal industry. They possess a rapid, they know the rapid cooling, carbon alloying, quenching, hardening and forge welding techniques were known to them. Iron resources in this region, magnetic and non-magnetic iron ores are available in Telangana region. The common iron ores of this region, common iron ore are recorded as banded magnetic quartzite magnetic Fe3O4 in Chandoli, Amberpet, Jagityal in Karimnagar, and the banded magnetic hematite quartzite hematite Fe2O3 occur in Dharwad band, in Errabelli, in Huzurabad and Karimnagar. The ore containing ferrous from 30% to 70% in cap-type deposits, most of the places in northern Telangana. This region is gifted with rich iron deposits, and mining was carried everywhere since time unknown. Ore collection was very simple. A small crowbar was enough, as described by Theonard in 17th century, a traveller who visited Telangana and went to Golconda, from there to Machilipatnam. So, he described the iron ore processing. This region was characterized by the application of high quality craftsmanship, technology and artisanship based on manual labor and manufacturing of iron, steel based articles, arms, armor and artillery. There are several places you can see cap-type deposits on the hills, hillocks. So many places you can see iron in stone shapes. Those are all banded magnetic iron ore sources. Special status to Indian steel is mentioned in foreign accounts. Herodotus, father of history, mentioned that the sharp arrowheads being used by the Indian soldiers fighting in the battle of Thermopylae in 5th century BC. Alexander was presented 30 talents at about 90 kgs, 900 kilograms of Indian steel, that's called as Hindu Vani, as tribute from in the shape of ingots along with gold dust and precious stones in 326 BC. Arian mentioned about iron steel in the Abyssinian ports, which is taxable. Ptolemy mentioned iron more prized than gold. Periplus mentioned that the iron from India, a taxable commodity in Abyssinian ports. Al-Kandi, 8th century scholar, mentioned that the swords made in Damascus were made with the crucible steel brought from central India. Al-Biruni stated that there will be never a nation which understood separate types of swords and their names than the inhabitants of India. Famous London Bridge construction has utilized 50 tons of Indian iron in the beginning of the 18th century. Industrial iron was from the England, found to be very inferior to the native bloomer iron. Hence, the East India Company in India requested the East India Company in England not to send any more to sell the iron in India, in this country. So, Indian iron was very soft as well as rust free iron. At once they used to get from the furnace. Because of that, iron was not rusting. History of iron and steel in Telangana began in at least 6,000 years ago. Early man probably first learned to use iron. The finding in megalith burials at Hyderabad University campus, Gachibowli, in the OSL dating reveals this fact. Our new luminescence ages of pottery from Hyderabad suggested that megalith culture is older by 2000 to 2800 BC, which is higher by 1200 to 2000 years in comparison to 800 BC. Period reported by Professor K.P. Rao and J.P. Thompson. This is mostly contemporary to the Indus Valley civilization. Almost all Indus Valley, Telangana, both are this bronze and iron cultures are going on. The smelting of iron and making of wood steel is an artisan based industry, not mechanized. Mining of ores, smelting process and production of metal and materials without any scientific technique. The large quantity of metal was produced manually with an application of labor. Extraordinary craftsmanship was applied while manufacturing the various kinds of articles. Survey and field work. This is a self-financed project started by me in 2005. Nearly 4,000 villages being surveyed in 9 previous Telangana districts in Telangana state. Ample physical and material evidences found. Material collected as regard to the iron smelting iron industry in 2,600 villages by the end of 2018. More than 600 wood steel production centers were identified. Several villages were producing arms, armor and arms industry was widespread in this region. The findings of the field survey. Investigated archaeometallurgical metallurgy of iron production Telangana state characterized the past production techniques, mining, primary smelting and crucible steel manufacturing. Collected evidences on chronological development and production of techniques, assessed survival of knowledge and practice of modern times in the village in the living memories. Before the UKRI project, the program, the author started a field work and surveyed 5 years, completed and published a book on iron wood steel industry in northern Telangana. It's very surprisingly we can notice the village names which are given are called etymologically with the iron related industry. Most of the village names etymologically identified in the regional language Telugu the terms related to iron slag, iron smiths, iron furnace and iron manufacturing. In Telugu, iron means, inumu means iron. Induru, Dindurti, Inukurti, Indurti means iron villages. Chitta means slag, a scum of melted metal. This is a wastage after smelting. The villages named after slag are Chityala, Chittapuram, Chityalapalli, Chittemla, Chinna Chityala, Pedda Chityala, Gatta Chityala, Metta Chityala. There are several names related to Chittem. There are several fields in the village also called as Chittappalalu. Kammari means blacksmith. Kammarpeta, Kammarpalli, Kammarshala, Kammarkanpeta, Kammarala means village of blacksmiths. Kolimi means furnace. Kolimala, Kolimpunta, Kodimala, Kolimpalli, Kolumulla. These names related to blacksmith furnaces. Nomenclature of the village names. In Telugu, Kalleda means tender or soft stone. Kalleda denotes Kallu plus Eda, Edakallu became Kalleda. Katalam means fire. Katalapuram, see where the furnace is burning all the time. Firangi means cannon. Firangipuram. Battipalli, Batti means furnace. Arnakonda, ever burning furnace. Hapsipur, which is called as Ayaspuram. Ayas means iron in Sanskrit and Prakrit. Ayaspuram, Israjpalli, Isupalli village denotes to Prakrit word Ayas. Iron in Sanskrit also is known as Ayas. These are all iron villages. Koratla, the dried cakes. Shekalla, dried cakes. Eligedu, the fire in the forest. Agimalla, fire in the land. Velugu always denotes to the fire in the furnaces. Velugonda, Velugaturu, Velugumatla, Velugupalli, Velugapuram, these names denotes to the iron furnaces. Kurvi means fire, Kurvisima. Indur was known as Inumuru. Inumuru turned as Induru. Induru, present Nizamabad district. Early name was Induru. Later it turned as Nizamabad. There are numerous unnoticed villages still existing with the production of iron woods. Since several irrigation projects are constructed and numerous iron and wood steel sites bulldozed to develop the command area development. The following observations indicate that the survey belongs to ancient and medieval periods. Megalithic burials, megalithic iron smelting furnaces at Naikund excavated dated back 15th century BC. This dating came from Naikund. An imaginary picture given by Shashi Shekharan in his book. The similar furnace construction remains are seen in debris at Ranam Kota near Buggaram village, Dharmapuri Mandal, Jagityal district. The type of slag remains also found at Ranam Kota, Buggaram. So, these are all very peculiar furnaces. These are all early, those furnaces were used small tuyers and metal was pulverized in natural granite boulders, that crushing holes are excavated on the boulder. They used to crush the ore and then they used to wash and smelt. These are all sites. Most of the iron producing villages remains with the slag pieces can be seen in the mud walls of the houses or mud walls of the old mud forts or fortalices, even bastions which are remaining. There you can find this slag. You can notice that village is producing iron. This is a huge wall in Nagaram. It's dated back 200 AD. All these archaeometallurgical sites are disappearing in this region. Now, archaeometallurgical remains are gradually disappearing due to agriculture development, ignorance of the people on heritage conservation, neglected attitude of the archaeological department. Several hundreds of sites already disappeared due to bulldozing, filling the ditches in the village roads, country roads leading to the agriculture fields particularly. Slag crucible remains are used for several purposes in the village. Few sites you can see. This Parasurampalli, once it was 30 heaps of slags like that, but in 2010 it remains like that. 2011 it's totally washed away. In 2021 there is no slag heaps in the village. If you go and see, there is no identity of iron wood steel production in Parasurampalli. Even its Yamapur, Konasamudram, Konapuram, Bashirabad, Sumkata, several places totally these slag sets are disappeared. Agaria, Asur, Kolami are the tribal communities used to smelt the iron ore in Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar. But it is not the case with the Telangana region. Bloom iron smelters were called as Muddakammari community, a branch within the Smith community. And iron reducing methods, there are two types of methods. In India, particularly from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, we produce one single method, that is a direct method. In this method, the iron reduced directly in the revibrated furnace with the charcoal, and then they make bottom with plano convex shape with the charcoal, and then they fix one side tuyer, one or two sides, but they blast with leather bellows. After lighting the furnace, they pour ore and the charcoal together into the furnace. The whole activity takes place about 6 to 8 hours. Within the time, the bloom forms on the top of the slag, then they remove and hammer it for removing this remaining slag from the iron bloom. Iron bloom with tongues they used to lift from the furnace, or they used to break the furnace sometimes. Hammering is very common after taking out from the furnace. At once they were producing a rust free iron. This method was adopted in India and Africa. The furnace was reverberated furnace, so this was made into iron bars. These were taken from 8 to 10 hours time for making a bloomery iron. Indirect method is this was very popular in West Asia and Europe. Iron smelting in a furnace was used to get pig iron first. This was smelted again, and at this time they get 60% of bar iron and 40% of wrought iron. The bar iron converted into steel or tool iron, and the remaining wrought iron was used in manufacturing of cannons. So, western method was very costly method, consuming lot of fuel, lot of time, and getting very minimum amount of metal. But whereas in India they produced iron at a time in a reverberated furnace, 20 kgs or 30 kgs of iron bloom were taken out. European type of iron smelting method described in Dachepalli Kaifiyat in 18th century. Dachepalli, the village in Kadapa district. It has again this western method they adopted, because the forest is there. You can see in the forest there are several ash heaps. People, they were not knowing about that smelting method, that is described in Dachepalli Kaifiyat. There are several furnace remains in the forests, and slag remains nearby the slag remains you can see, and excavations are taken place in some places. You can find the different types of slag, this PCB slag, 2 years furnace walls, everything collected from various smelting sites. But now at present, if you go and see, there is very difficult to get the slag or furnace or anything, because they are all totally bulldozed. This is a very pathetic condition. Some bloomery iron pieces have collected. Ore collection and processing, this method was very easy method in India. Iron ore was available everywhere. They never bothered with the percentage of ore which contains, because they used to pulverize, they used to make the powder, and they used to wash it, and dust and sand particles should go out. Then they make it dry, and they mix it with charcoal, and they pour into the furnace. Then they get the bloom, iron bloom at a time. So, sand particles. So, then in rainy season they used to collect the ore on the hills, on the hillocks, and the ground, on the plain grounds. In our sometimes in river or stream banks, they used to collect. Cleaned ore was sold in the markets everywhere in the region. It was called as hirakasis, which are documented in medieval period. So, medieval document speaks about the hirakasis. So, price was time to time was changing in different times. The ore was sold by the itinerant traders in the streets also, because though that was bought by the smiths for smelting purpose. Charcoal used in smelting. Use of charcoal, particularly sandrugu, that is called as a rosewood or sandrugu. These both the trees they used to make the charcoal and use in iron furnaces, manufacturing of iron. Even in the woods making also, sandrugu was the main fuel. The sandrugu charcoal was preferred. Even sometimes in Bassea latifolia, Ippa, Jitregi, Sandrugu, these 3 trees are very important for the making of iron and woods also. At once they used to get pure iron produced, because they were using pure black sand and smelting the iron. So, this process adding the phosphorus to the metal. Adding the phosphorus to the metal causes protecting from rusting. So, that is why since ancient times no metal implement or no metal manufacturing things are not rusted. Professor Balasubramaniam studied iron pillar in Delhi for 7 years and proved that it is not rusting because of the forming of the phosphoric layer 0.05 microns of phosphoric layer forming on the surface. It under any circumstances, any conditions, climatic conditions, it survives. So, it will not affect the iron, but whereas modern iron is easily rusted because it does not have any phosphor. Again he invented phosphoric iron in the lab conditions and given to the Bhilai. Now they are laying the phosphoric iron rails from Visakhapatnam to Rajahmundry to Vijayawada on the east coast. The local iron was called as a kheri and the wood steel called as a fawlad in Urdu or Persian. Most of the sites were producing only bloomer iron. These blooms were sold in the markets, used by the village smiths, arms making centers, exported to Central Asia, Europe and other countries, manufactured several kinds of material and domestic use and commercial use, agriculture use, household, building materials, tools of different sizes. This is the iron manufacturing in Telangana. Is not, it was domestic industry existing all over the state. So, people were very deeply involved in this manufacturing of iron and woods.